Hello my friends and welcome. My name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Today we're gonna discuss with you whether Russia can win this war. Let's go. Military propaganda wasn't created yesterday, and bringing your own point of view to the enemy soldier and population is not new either. But situation that both sides of the conflict live in the same social media space, they watch the same YouTube videos, they interact on TikTok and other stuff, is quite unique for the 21st century. In particular, that is the reason why we can see the whole picture quite well. You can understand the power balance. If you have some skills working with information, you can get those from different sources, compare, and more or less you can have the accurate picture of what is going on. On the other hand, then it comes to detailed information from the battlefields and statistics, we have much less information, and this is the point for speculation. That is why we see confusing information from the same sources telling Ukraine is winning or Russia is winning, but no one says the truth. The battle for Donbass was announced from Russian side early in April and was expected to happen at the end of April at most. It had to be the biggest battle since the World War II, and the result of which should be the surrounding of Ukrainian troops' largest army on the eastern part of Ukraine, or destructions of Putin's illusions about the control of the eastern part of Ukraine. Nothing like that happened neither in April nor in May. We see just local battles kept happening and villages sometimes changing hands. The reason is obvious. Russia spent most of its resources in the beginning of the conflict and wasn't able to gain them fast enough. Nevertheless, in May, something started to happen. Russian army pulled up its resources like people and equipment. As we expected, undeclared hidden mobilization started 1 month ago all around Russian cities. It is not centralized in big cities like Moscow, but still very active. There are numerous of cases that they call to former military officers, offering them to sign a new contract for a huge sum of money. The same time Russia got its resources ready, Ukraine encountered some bureaucratic barriers in getting help with the weapons from Western allies. The situation with the resources leaned towards Russian army and they use it immediately. They threw the Russian troops to attack Ukraine army and surround it. That attempt was not that impressive as it was planned by Russia, but still it is very serious. Russian army chose 3 directions for their attack, and now we see that 10,000 soldiers of Ukrainian army is in danger of entrapment. And meanwhile, Russia uncovers new resources like T-62 tanks that were made in 1950s. But nevertheless, endless columns of that stuff are coming to the front lines, and Russian government is ready to pay the annual salary for the poor Russian region for the soldier per month. At the same time, Western help to Ukraine is very slow because of bureaucracy and of course because of some politicians. The Ukrainian army has already proved that it can effectively fight with overpowering enemy, but it's a frontal war. It's less about the strategy and skills and more about resources. Ukraine needs lots of armory and equipment, and it should come faster than it is destroyed on the front lines. Here we are talking not about the shipment of the separate units of machinery to our army, we are talking about the scale of the World War II Lend-Lease. We shouldn't wait for the units to be destroyed, like it's destroyed, we need a new one, let's go to America. No, we need constant convoys. One convoy is here, the other is on its way already. And that is why, to conquer those bureaucracy problems that are totally unacceptable right now, the government of United States of America approved the Lend-Lease for Ukraine. And the first lots of shipment came from United States of America just recently to Ukraine. Unfortunately, it happened in the 4th month of war, so Putin had plenty of time to uncover own resources, invest lots of money and have another go. It's a leap where he has a chance to achieve some local success. But just imagine that in March the whole Ukraine was in danger and Russia discussed the seizure of Kiev within 3 days. Now we still have the serious danger in Ukraine, but mostly it's on the south and eastern part of Ukraine. But for the first time we see more red spots on the map instead of their narrowing down. If it's bad for Ukrainian army, for our soldiers, I cannot tell you for sure, for the reason I told you in the beginning of this video. We simply have not enough information from the battlefields. However, if we don't go to those details we know nothing about, let me tell you about the picture as whole. Let's start from where Russia got its power for a new leap. More or less we can understand the scope of losses. Western intelligence say that Russia lost 1/3 of its army that was used to invade Ukraine in February. If we will not take Ukrainian army statistics for Russian losses, still there are some independent sources that tells Russia lost around 1,000 tanks, that is 30 tank battalions. And it's incomparable loss. No army has suffered these tremendous losses for the last 80 years. Just for you to understand, it's more tanks than Great Britain, France and Germany have in their armies altogether. To replace that quantity of tanks, Russia needs years of production and billions of dollars. So where does Russia get its potential with such huge losses? The answer is quite simple. First, reserves of the old military equipment we discussed before. Those vehicles are old and Soviet. They are unprepared for the modern day war and they die on the front lines amazingly fast. But still, those are armored vehicles and they can run and they can shoot. And in case then you need to achieve the local success on the battlefield, you may use that machinery to outnumber the enemy and have the advantage. Especially then your counterpart Ukraine has goals to save the people and machinery. I don't think that Russia cares about that much, so for every destroyed modern tank they can put 10 Jurassic models. The second reason why we have some kind of Russian advantage nowadays is that they understood their failures in the beginning of the war. They tried to occupy most parts of Ukraine, but failed in their blitzkrieg. Now Russian forces are not spread from Pripyat to Kherson. Now they concentrated on main hotspots, one or two that are their main goals. They want to have Donetsk and Lugansk regions under their full control and they want to surround the Ukrainian army. But I think that goal is also far away from reality. They tried to circle our forces, they were unsuccessful, and now scroll little by little, our forces could easily go from the conflict areas not being circled and surrendered. Reason number 3 for Russian advantage is the mobilization campaign in Russia. As I expected, nobody dared to declare the full-scale mobilization in Russia. It seems like the Kremlin knows the reason from its closed polls. And we know that reason from our logic and common sense. You can easily sell the war on Russian TV, or they call it special operation, but you cannot sell it when your son, brother or husband gets a conscription notice to go and fight for that army. If Russian army took mobilization seriously, it would have had unpredictable circumstances, from calm sabotage to open protests. You can't lead this war against the country like Ukraine that has successful and open mobilization that can send millions of people to the front lines. So how can Russia send as many people to the war as Ukraine? The answer was created by Vladimir Putin's presidency for 22 years. It's very simple. Poverty. For military action under contract, Russian soldier can get up to 350,000 rubles, which is around $5,000. And that's per month. For Pskov, Tambov and many other Russian regions, that's the annual salary. So fighting in Ukraine for 2 or 3 months, you can provide your family for 2 or 3 years. And after just 4 months, you can buy a nice apartment in a regional center. Unfortunately, as you see, the poverty is a powerful tool for mobilization, especially when people just watch the Russian TV and unaware what awaits them in Ukraine. They don't get that the war doesn't mean that you would ride your tank with a flag in your hands. A war means freezing in a house, starving, being hurt and dying. But for a small town citizen who once served in the army and now has a debt, seeing these figures of the revenue for the contract, my friends, it's like from other planet. Nobody from his town or region has never earned that much. And that is why we see that many people coming to the army, signing the contracts, mostly from the small cities of Russia. Then they still in Russia. For them it's like another great job where no one would ask about the qualifications, and in return you'll have lots of money that even the factory chief of their town have never dreamed about. The understanding of real things comes on the front lines. From the first weeks we see the phenomenon of quitters. Then people go to the front line, see what it looks like, and don't want to come back under fire. This is a very important process that will not only impact the battle for Donbass, but this war in general. On the other hand, the financial motivation and Russian propaganda work very well together. People are offered to earn a fortune, as it's shown on Russian TV, just for the round trip. On the other hand, the Russian TV shows only wins, and because of this difference of the beautiful and nice picture and reality, the mobilized soldiers quit. Such situations are common for every army. You have some occasional case of a refusal, but in the Russians' case, the whole units refused to go to war. With that scale, you cannot hide this problem anymore. There were some of the recorded communications of the mobilized Russian soldiers that they called to their relatives in Russia. They were thrown to fight, however refused after, and their leaders took everything from them. Body armor, guns, everything. They didn't give any kind of documents, and now they had to sustain their own life hiding in the bushes in Ukrainian territory. Some of them crossed the border to Russia, some of them just disappeared. Ukraine's enemy is still very strong, and what's more important, desperate. Our enemy is like a wild, mad animal. It's ready to kill as many people as needed, just not to be someone who started this war and just couldn't win it. Watching the news about the military actions, watching my videos on YouTube about what is happening on the battlefield, where you can see the settlements coming from one hand to another, you must remember one thing. It has just a short-term meaning. We are not talking about years, God no, but months. Putin has launched all the processes that will lead him to defeat in future. This war becomes less and less popular in Russia. The Russian economy is isolated and will degrade very soon. Putin's friends will get more and more angry about what they've lost because of the Putin's ambitions. The war will eat more and more armor resources, and finally those will be irreplaceable. And despite all of the bureaucratic barriers in European Union and the United States, the final decision was made to supply weapons to Ukraine. And there will be so many of them that the Ukrainian army has never ever dreamed about. So can Russia win this war? The world understood the answer to that question during the first week of Russian invasion of Ukraine. And I can tell you now that the situation in Donbass became much worse. There is no way Russia wins. The only question is how, and then it will lose. My friends, I hope you like this kind of format. I will upload like this every Sunday. And now please press the like, subscribe to my channel, and if you can, please support me on Patreon or PayPal. I temporarily lost my job as an airline pilot, so YouTube is the only source for my income, and also I share what you give me for charity to help Ukrainian people. My friends, stay awesome. I wish you a peaceful sky wherever you are. Have a great time.